now's the time. Now's the time in the garden. This is the time we've been waiting for.
It is. It
right?
is.
We're talking seed time. We're
Seeding.
starting our seed time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's time to get going. We
It
got
is.
some supplies here to
we're about April 15th 's our magic day usually as gardeners. Hopefully it's going to be a good spring.
Right.
But that gives us about 45 days to get our seeds ready.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at, 1st of March right now. So we need to have those seed catalogs studied and pick out the plants that we're ready to put in the ground, and with all of our sheets, our fact sheets and things, you should be ready to go. So get your seedlings in the ground.
First step is seeds. I ordered my seeds yesterday. These are last year's seeds, so I'm a little late on the curve, but I'm still going to get there.
Yeah.
But get your seeds. You got to get your seeds first, and then you need something to grow your seeds in. I like these peat pots. These are pretty nice because once they're in there, you can just cut these out and put the whole thing in there. It'll compost and go into the soil. But load them up. We usually suggest like a potting soil.
Yeah, that's a good point. Potting soil, there's all kinds of potting soil. When you use the potting soil that you want to use for seeds is actually a seeding mix, a starting mix. Because what it is, it's ground up pretty fine.
Right.
That fine ground really gets that soil to contact that seed to get it germinated.
Right.
So that helps, and that pick out a good quality peat or a good quality potting soil. A new potting soil. Try not to reuse to do seeds because we can have some diseases that get in there, and we don't need a lot at first, and then we can use that We can recycle that potting mix in our containers and our big containers once it gets going. But yep, a good starting mix peat is good and hard to beat.
Well, a tip on this stuff is go ahead and fill up your containers. Whatever you can use cups. You can use old yogurt containers, but any kind of container you can use to start your seeds with. But fill them up with this potting soil and water it and get it moist before you put your seeds in.
Yeah.
Because if you don't and you put the seed in there and you water it, it tends to
float.
Tends to float and fill up, and anyway. So get it moist before you put the seeds in.
Yeah, that is a good point too, because there won't be much moisture at all in that bag.
No, it's dry as a bone.
Yeah, and then when you water it, it tends to want to float. It's just because it doesn't wet that well until we.
It doesn't absorb it well until we get going. But anyway, you get your seeds in there. Typically, these kind of things comes in a tray. You get a cover to keep it, kind of contain your moisture.
Kind of a greenhouse.
Kind of a greenhouse thing.
Yep.
It holds the moisture in there. This will fill up. It'll get all moist and droplets. You can tap on it and it'll fall back down. And then lighting. You need a good light source.
So we don't need light to germinate. We need, and for most plants, but we need light once we start seeing those cotyledons, those first true leaves. Once they come out, then we need some light. We've got a lot of options with light, whether it's just kind of a windowsill that's kind of a bright area, or actually, a full-blown LED lights that are full spectrum. So, there's a lot of different options that we have lighting-wise, but the main thing is get them germinated and then get them to the light, whether it's an artificial or a windowsill or things like that.
Right, and you, as far as the germination process, you can actually buy a little garden heating pad underneath here to kind of warm it up, so it kind of speed up that process a little bit because it makes it 70-ish.
That windowsill, tends to be cooler.
Right.
So you're probably in the 50s and 60s, so that it may not germinate very well. So that's where you're heating.
Or it'll take longer. Rather than them popping up in 2 or 3 days, it may be a week.
Yeah. So again, you don't have to put it on a windowsill to germinate it, but put it in a warmer area. And again, try not to get too much wind flow, but that's where that cover works pretty well, just to kind of hold the moisture in. And then once we start seeing those little boogers germinate, then we start moving them to the light a little bit.
Yep, and you can take that off, turn off the heating pad after they've germinated, and then you got to water. And I'm overprotective or something, but for these little bitty, tiny little guys, I've got a little squirter, and I'll squirt in there because, we've got this kind of stuff. You get this and you start going, that's a lot of water being dumped on them, and they're tiny and fragile, so you can go and squirt around them and keep them moist. But, that's just me.
Yeah, no, I'm probably not going to go that far, but no, it works. It does. And, the one thing to look for when we start getting some tall seedlings means it's more than likely lack of light. So once it starts getting tall and spindly, we need to put some light on those where they'll start stiffening up a little bit and get staying kind of short. So that's one thing that happens that I've noticed if we don't have enough light, they tend to try to grow up towards the light and you can't find it.
Right.
So.
Well, and then even if you're growing something like, say, tomatoes, those tomato plants are going to start getting bigger, and squash will start trying to grow all around it. I mean, you can cut these out, take them individually, put them in a larger pot in there as well. If you want to keep them inside a little longer, let them get bigger inside. So a lot of things you can do, but it is time. Now's the time to start getting ready. And we've got this, OSU puts out this fact sheet. We'll put it down there in the screen, but it's 6004. It's the Oklahoma Garden Planting Guide. And it has all the crops that you're going to be growing more than likely, when to start them, days to harvest, whether you seed in the ground or
all kinds of stuff.
All that information, and it's good for both warm season and cool season crops. So click on get the link and download this, and this will be kind of your grower's guide.
Yeah, and then even before that, I mean, our vegetable varieties for the homeowner, I went and found this today, and this is a good fact sheet as well, 6032, and it has varieties.
Right.
And
I want to grow broccoli. What kind of broccoli?
Broccoli do I grow? So you pick this up and you take it to the stores or online if you do your seed catalogs and things. But these are the ones that work for our area, and that's a good fact sheet as well to kind of get a pretty good idea, on what will work.
Right. It's okay to go rogue and just buy something you think is nice, but if you tried for a couple of years and haven't been successful, maybe consult the ones that are kind of guaranteed to do well.
Right. So yeah, I mean, seedlings work well. Planting those, I tend to just go buy my plants because I guess I find other things to do other than get seedlings ready. But like you did, you ordered them from a seed catalog that you couldn't find anywhere else. So you'll have those, and those will be the ones that you'll be planting. So.
Right. Well, I like to experiment.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I've never grown that before. Let's
try
that.
Yeah. And seeds are pretty cheap, so
seeds are pretty cheap. I got a lettuce mix of seeds. There were 1,500 seeds in it for $4.95.
What a deal!
I got lettuce for the rest of my life, probably if the seeds last as long.
But again, we're 1st of March. It's time. I mean, in general, about 45 days is about what it takes to get a seed from planting to kind of ready to plant.
And what date is our plant day?
So that April 15th is our
April 15th.
major day.
Tax day. Easy to remember, tax day.
So let's jump ahead a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. When we get ready to set these out, it's good to kind of harden these off a little bit.
Right.
We're into March or April. Say we're into April, about 2 weeks before we plant. Wouldn't be a bad idea to set these outside on nice days, maybe under a shade. Don't put them in direct sun.
Yeah,
so somewhere outside where they'll kind of toughen up a little bit, harden off a little bit. And then do that for about a week, 2 weeks, and then they're ready to go in the ground.
Yeah, that's actually a question we get fairly often in our diagnostic center. People's like, I put my little babies outside and they just died right off the bat. It's like, well, did you harden them off? Did I what?
Yeah, what's harden off?
What's harden off? And so for greater chance of success, you got to harden them off because they've been indoors in a nice protected environment, and then you go stick them out in the blazing hot sun, and they're done. It's like, I don't like this life, and they're done.
Or on the opposite end, the cold. The cold,
yeah.
So both sides, and another thing we didn't talk about is a fan.
Right.
Once we get this is a good picture here that we have. These are about ready to put a fan on. And what that fan, an oscillating fan, not just a direct fan, but a fan that moves, and that's gonna blow some air. That's gonna kind of get that stagnant air out of there. It's gonna toughen them up because they're gonna sway a little bit.
Right.
And so that helps. So a fan's not a bad thing. After they come up, after they germinate, should be good. So just a little one, nothing major. No, just enough where you can just kind of see the leaves flowing a little bit.
Well, the great thing I like about starting seeds is just do it. It's not a high cost investment. It's kind of a low cost probe. I mean, you can buy some seeds and save up some old containers and get you a bag of pottings. I mean, it's like $5 for a bag of the seed starting soil.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
And then once you get them and you grow them, it's like, I started those from seed.
I
didn't go, So,
yeah. And kids, I keep bringing up kids. This is a perfect way to get kids involved.
Well, yeah, they get to learn about how Where's our food come from?
They're more bought in if they planted that seed and grew it and it's growing a little bit and then all right, it's about time to plant. So then they start thinking about it. But so yeah, get that with your grandkids, your kids, whatever, your neighbors' kids. Get them to plant something. They'll have fun.
And if they don't like to eat their vegetables, they're probably going to like to eat these vegetables because they grew them.
They did it.
But they did it. So anyway,
awesome.
Now's the time. Time to get busy.
Perfect. Get after it and let us know how it goes.